Thursday, December 15. Ready for his appearing. We live in a frenetic world with too many artificial needs and eye-catching distractions. If we're not careful, these can take all our time and pervert our priorities. This is not just another byproduct of our globalized cyber world. Christians in every age, to one degree or another, have to be on guard against Satan's attempts to distract them from what really matters in this life. Who, if not careful, is not in danger of looking away from the Lord and dwelling on worldly, carnal things that in the end cannot ultimately satisfy us, and that in the end can lead to our spiritual ruin. Read 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 14, and 1 John chapter 3, verses 1 to 3. What difference do you see between preparing ourselves for the second coming and being ready for that glorious event? 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 14, Therefore, beloved, looking forward to these things, be diligent to be found by him in peace, without spot and blameless. And 1 John 3, 1 to 3. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Therefore the world does not know us, because it did not know him. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure. Often the notion of an ongoing preparation for the second coming becomes an excuse for procrastination. This notion can easily lead one to relax under the evil servant's assumption, my master is delaying his coming, in Matthew 24:48. Read Psalm 95, verses 7 and 8, Hebrews 3, verses 7, 8 and 15, and Hebrews 4, verse 7. What are these verses saying to us about being ready right now? Psalm 95, beginning at verse 7, For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, as in the day of trial in the wilderness. And Hebrews 3, verse 7 and 8. Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion in the day of trial in the wilderness. And verse 15. While it is said, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. And Hebrews 4, verse 7. Again, he designates a certain day, saying to David, Today, after such a long time, as it has been said, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. From the biblical perspective, the time of salvation is always today and never tomorrow, as we've just read in Psalm 95, Hebrews 3 and Hebrews 4. And further, unless a major conversion experience takes place, we will continue to be what we are right now. Time itself does not convert the unconverted. If anything, unless one is continually growing in grace and pressing on ahead in faith, the tendency would be to fall away, to become hardened, skeptical, cynical, even disbelieving. From this perspective, we can say that every single day of our life is our life in miniature. So, by God's grace, we should plan for the future, but should live each day ready for the return of Jesus, especially because, given the contingencies of this life, today could be our last day. And so, to finish today, how can you today be ready for the return of Jesus were he to return today? Discuss your answer in class on Sabbath. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.